Food and Drug Administration laws. A branch of the PLP and RSPR physician networks will be devoted to the Food and Drug Administration, United States, or the FDA equivalent of the country. Evil Jesuits have traditionally been in control of the FDA, and this has caused harm to the health of the country. No government official can be a Laurie McBride Jesuit, so citizen scanners must be used on all FDA facilities, and all Laurie McBride Jesuits must be removed from employment at any FDA facility. All drugs, foods, and substances under the jurisdiction of the Food and Drug Administration and the Department of Agriculture, United States, or the equivalent of these organizations in the country, must be analyzed to determine the most cost-effective and health-promoting use of all drugs and substances that are monitored by the FDA and Department of Agriculture. For the purpose of conspiracy law, the FDA is defined as the government body that regulates and makes laws regarding the food, medicines, and consumption items of a population, which is basically the role of the FDA and Department of Agriculture in the United States. The FDA has done a lousy job creating drugs for the sole purpose of making illegal over-the-counter drugs that are of huge benefit to the country. This has been especially true of marijuana-based drugs. This must change. A section of the FDA must study all legally prescribed drugs to see if it's in the form most beneficial and cost-effective for the populace. This section will be called the Pharmacy Corps. All Pharmacy Corps members will be considered a law enforcement official under conspiracy law and must meet all requirements for law enforcement officials under conspiracy law. For instance, ingredients have been extracted from marijuana, which is actually most beneficial in its virgin state, for the sole purpose of making marijuana illegal in order to profit at the expense of public health off of marijuana. Activity like this will not be tolerated under conspiracy law. Any willing and knowing attempt or action to create a new drug only to make it inferior and higher priced and more profitable to the drug or substance from which it is derived, so as to make illegal the superior version of that drug or substance, will bring the death penalty as a Jesuit conspirator to that violator. Our Pharmacy Corps must study any and all drugs to determine if they are inferior to a drug that's been banned from the populace, and the superior version must be reinstated and made legal to the public, with no artificial price inflation for the public, but with the most cost-effective version available to the public. Further, to ensure public health, any over-the-counter drug which is effective in treating conditions must be covered under our National Health Care Plan and regulated and monitored by our Pharmacy Corps to ensure that the most effective and cost-effective version of that drug is available to the public. Due to widespread abuse of drugs by the FDA while under Jesuit control and the creation of inferior drugs, we need a total revamp of all legal drugs under the FDA. All drugs must be studied by our Pharmacy Corps to determine if they're available to the public in their most cost-effective and health-promoting form. The Pharmacy Corps is defined as a physician, pharmacist, or other health professional who is qualified to study drugs and substances and their effects on the human body, and who can create or remake drugs that are most beneficial and cost-effective for the health of the population they serve. Pharmacy Corps members will be health practitioners, chiropractors, acupuncturists, natural health physicians, scientists, accountants, economists, and pharmacists, whose sole job is to study the drugs on the market and determine the most cost-effective and health-promoting version of all drugs on the market. Any willing and knowing attempt or action to allow any drug to remain on the market which is not the most cost-effective and health-promoting version of that drug by any Pharmacy Corps members will bring the death penalty as a Jesuit conspirator to that violator. Further, no member of the Pharmacy Corps can make any contracts with any organization that sells drugs other than to ensure that the most cost-effective and health-promoting version of the drug reaches the populace. If it's discovered that a member of our Pharmacy Corps has made a deal that involves more than creating the most cost-effective and health-promoting version of the drug in question, that would be grounds for dismissal. That person can no longer work for the Pharmacy Corps. All members of the Pharmacy Corps are considered part of the National Health Care Plan. See Section 55 of Conspiracy Laws and Government, and will be paid salaries like a member of the National Health Care Plan. They'll receive bonuses and raises based on the health promotion qualities of the drugs they create and monitor. So, for instance, those behind the creation of marijuana-based drugs who create a superior version of marijuana for the populace that greatly benefits the population will receive a raise every year that this superior version is proven to benefit the population. This is to discourage deals between our pharmacy corps and big pharma to try and make a profit from drugs at the expense of public health. To determine if the drugs created or monitored by the pharmacy corps are the most effective form and the most cost-effective form, our auditor PLPs and RSPs, physicians who conduct audits, will study the drugs and determine if the most cost-effective version and the most health-promoting version is being used by the public, and will study the effect these drugs have on public health. They'll review the drug in question on a scale from 1 to 10, with 10 being the most cost-effective and health-promoting version of the drug in question. Any drug that has a score below 6 must be reevaluated and studied to come up with a more cost-effective and health-promoting version. Those pharmacy corps members responsible for the drug will receive a raise based on the score they get from the auditor PLPs and RSPs. Any member of the auditor PLPs and RSPs who willingly and knowingly give a false score to a drug substance under their evaluation so as to cover up a deficiency in cost effectiveness or health-promoting qualities, or to make a drug appear more beneficial or health-promoting than it is, will receive the death penalty as a Jesuit conspirator to that violator. Before each evaluation is given, the auditor PLP and RSP under 666 computer lie detection must state that to the best of their knowledge they have given the score to the drug or substance that it deserves and have reviewed it accurately to the best of their knowledge and abilities. As part of the health-promoting version of the drug must be evaluated to determine if it's available to all those who can benefit from it. For instance, Seroquel is known to be the most potent and effective yeast management drug on the market. But according to the FDA, it's only recognized as a psychiatric drug. The pharmacy corps, as part of their health promotion for each drug, must not only create or maintain the most health-promoting version of the drug, but must also determine who would benefit from the drug and make sure that all who would benefit from the drug are able to get it in the most cost-effective and health-promoting version. Obviously, if the drug is not available to all who could benefit from it, it's not in its most health-promoting version. So part of the health-promoting version is to ensure that the diagnostic criteria, who can benefit from the drug, mentions all who could benefit from the drug, so that physicians can prescribe the drug to all who benefit from the drug without repercussions of malpractice for prescribing the drug to those not traditionally recognized as beneficiaries of the drug. Also, the pharmacy corps must determine which drugs should be over-the-counter and which prescription. No drug can be made prescription solely because it's more profitable to do so when the drug would be safe as over-the-counter. Again, this falls under the most health-promoting and cost-effective criteria for each drug. If a prescription drug would be safer and more cost-effective over-the-counter, it should be made over-the-counter. On the other hand, if an over-the-counter drug would be safer as a prescription and more cost-effective as a prescription, perhaps because health insurance would cover the cost, it should be available as a prescription. Also, some drugs would benefit to be both prescription and over-the-counter, enabling physicians to prescribe some over-the-counter drugs to allow insurance to cover the drug cost to poor patients. The pharmacy corps must make all these decisions when they determine the most cost-effective and health-promoting version of each drug. For the purpose of conspiracy law, a drug is defined as any substance or treatment that can alter the health of the one who uses it. Regarding the regulation of drugs that are considered harmful to the populace, like nicotine, all drugs labeled as harmful must actually be harmful in the version in which it is considered harmful to the public. If there is a version of the drug not harmful or even beneficial, that healthy version must not be banned and must be made available in its safest and healthiest version to the public. Just because there are harmful versions of the drug or treatment should not cause the ban of health-promoting versions of the drug or treatment to the public. The pharmacy corps must accurately differentiate between harmful and healthy versions of all drugs and make sure that any health-promoting versions of any and all drugs are available to the public in their most cost-effective form. It's also the responsibility of the pharmacy corps to ensure that all harmful versions of drugs are banned from the public, or that instructions for how to make a drug in its most health-promoting version be made clear to health practitioners and patients or consumers. For instance, the flu vaccine is actually created to give people the flu. This must stop. The pharmacy corps must study all drugs, including vaccines, to determine that the most health-promoting version of these drugs are available to the public. All harmful drugs must be removed from public use and or replaced with drugs that are health-promoting. One branch of the Pharmacy Corps will be responsible for community health education and will write books and pamphlets to educate the public about what is health-promoting based on their research. They will also create videos and audio-visual productions to air on mainstream news and online. What they present must be accurate and the most health-promoting information. Any willing and knowing attempt or action by any health educator, public or private, to present a lie or confusion about the most health-promoting or cost-effective drug for treatment, or worse, recommending drugs that harm or kill, will bring the death penalty as a Jesuit conspirator to that violator. In summary, the Pharmacy Corps must ensure that any and all drugs or treatments that are health-promoting are available to the public in their most health-promoting and cost-effective form, and that any and all drugs harmful to the public are removed or altered to make them the most health-promoting. Any willing and knowing action or negligence that does not promote the best drugs and the best financial health for the consumer will bring the death penalty as a Jesuit conspirator to that member of the Pharmacy Corps. We will not tolerate greedy government workers who make a buck at the expense of public health.
Calling the FDA. My name is Rudy. Is this a medical emergency?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that I didn't ingest poison. You proved aspartame or something?
We don't have information on aspartame. Well, how do you spell it? I may have information. A-S-P-E-R-T-A-M-E. Let me see if I have information on it.
I don't know which poison it would be under, what level.
Okay, now I have to ask you a series of questions, sir, before I get into it. It's just part of FDA protocol.
Okay.
At this time, is this a medical emergency?
I have no clue.
Are you having symptoms of any kind?
I don't know. Whatever aspartame does to you. There's a lot of symptoms. I was wanting to know what type of poison level that aspartame is at.
Did you ingest this poison?
Yeah, I ingested it. Had a cookie and a Coke. The cookie had aspartame in it.
So you had a cookie that had this poison in it?
Yeah.
I would highly recommend that you get in contact with poison control.
Because that aspartame is pretty bad stuff.
Let me get you there.
Hey, you know what? I think I may add some MSG, too. Is that poisonous, too? I heard it was.
You'll have to call poison control, sir.
When the FDA, approves a poison to put in a food, how does that go about it?
Do you want to know what the procedure is for the FDA to approve or a poison to be put in a food product?
Yeah, how does it go about that? Yeah. Is it, real lengthy time to do it, or do they approve it, in a couple weeks?
The FDA has supplied us with that type of information.
So you get a lot of calls from people with aspartame poisoning?
What product that you ingest? What's the name of it?
Aspartame.
I understand aspartame, but from what product? You
Oh,
to me that you,
it was a Diet Coke.
It through a food product.
It was Diet Pepsi, and then a cookie, and then I had some of that gum. I did have some MSG too, man. I had some ramen noodles today.
Okay, is this a serious call, sir?
Yeah, I'm dead serious. Hey, before I get dementia or get Alzheimer's or croak from all this MSG and all this poisoning, use the Google and type in aspartame. You'd probably be shocked at what kind of poisoning that is.
All right.
Don't drink the Diet Coke.
All right. Thanks for calling FDA.